All right, so now we're working on stage two of our project here. We're going to cut up Photoshop or items in Photoshop and bring them into After Effects. And so we went over sort of how to begin on the last tutorial. Here we'll go on from there. And so, basically what I would have done is brought in a whole bunch of different photos that are, I used to kind of composite together to make my crazy football monster guy I'm trying to make here. And so all your layers will kind of live down here. You want to make sure you have a transparent background, right? So that the background's empty, there's nothing in there, because that'll be important when we bring this into After Effects. And so, I would just go through and cut up and resize different things so that I can kind of make them look the way that I want them to. And so I pulled a whole bunch of components off of all of these and put them into this tutorial. So in the end, if I wanted to, I could make my guy look a little bit like this. So, obviously you can do it any way you would like. This is all just sort of for fun for the tutorial. But one thing that I haven't done much of is clean this up. And so if you look at, say, these are just pieces I'm going to use. But if you look at, say, this guy's arm over here, if we zoom in on that, it's kind of ugly right now, right? It's just not, I didn't do a great job of cutting this thing out, right? And so what I would want to do is go in there and sort of try and adjust that. So if I just hit just grab the move tool and grab that layer. Hopefully it's the right layer, right? You can always check over here. I can just grab the eraser and I can go in here and like touch stuff up, right? So I can go in here and try to clean this up so it doesn't look so sloppy. One thing that you'll get dinged on in this class is just hack work for digital sort of compositing, right? So if you doesn't look like, you tried very hard to make things look intentional and make them look resolved, then you're going to end up getting a little lower score in craftsmanship and things like that, because the the idea is that we're trying to make it work excellent, right? So, and as you get kind of further into this whole thing, you might want to start thinking about like resizing components and stuff like that, right? So if I look at this leg down here, and I think that leg is not looking, it's looking a little small, right, for what I want to do. There's always keep in mind how to do this, which again, hopefully you've learned previously. But if you go up to Edit, Transform, there's a whole bunch of options here for how you can scale things and change them. But if we go to Scale, again, I can just click on this and like make that leg look bigger. And I can also rotate it. So as you get closer to one of the corners down here, you'll see your might not do it for this one. You might have to apply it. So to apply the transformation, you either hit Return or double click it, and that'll apply it. But so yeah, if I go up here to Edit Edit Transform, there's one for Rotate, right? So I can grab that, and you'll see it kind of lets me scooch around. The other important thing to kind of pay attention to is your layer order, right? So obviously I want this leg underneath this kind of weird body armor thing that I'm playing around with here. So you want to stack everything up kind of so it all lays out the way you want to. And so for example here, these arms are kind of frustrating me that they're underneath this thing. So I would just try and find that layer, which is this bulletproof vest thing. And then I'm just going to grab the eraser tool, and I'm going to like kind of kill off the parts of this that are frustrating me with the eraser. But one thing that you might want to sort of keep in mind would be we're going to move the arms and legs around on this in the end. That's like the goal of this whole thing is we're going to go in there and animate these different parts, right? So we're kind of like almost creating a puppet out of this. So you don't want to delete so much away from this that you end up with like losing important stuff that you might want to keep when the arms move. So I mean, you just kind of want to like play this by ear. Again, you can increase the brush size by hitting the right-hand bracket. So I'll just go in here and, you just want to be thoughtful about what you're erasing and why and how all that works. So let's say that looks okay, and I could turn on my other layers again and see if I kind of have this set up the way I want. So there's an arm, here's another arm, the shoulder pads. Okay, that looks a little better, right? And again, the other thing you probably want to do is make sure that you organize your things and that you name them. So I would want to go in here and like make sure I'm naming this layer, right arm, right? Because you'll get lost when you bring it into After Effects if you don't pay attention to that stuff. Okay, other things that you can do that maybe would be useful to you is you can, if there's an area that's a little bit frustrating because you're going to want, you're going to want to, you wish there was a way to fill in a space between something. So for example, on the shoulder pads down, or the this vest here, if I wish I could kind of make this area right here go further out, I can actually use the clone tool. So if I click on the clone stamp tool, and again, you can make your brush as big or as small as you want, and you hold down the option key, it's going to clone wherever this little crosshairs is at. So I'm just going to like actually pop that out a little bit, and it's going to, you can see it's copying the pixels from one side and dropping them over. So it ends up looking, it can look kind of corny, like it can look really repetitive if you're not careful. So you kind of got to like be thoughtful about it, but it's a way to kind of fill things in if you want to. You can also, of course, color correct if you want to. So you can, make a selection on a layer like the helmet, and then you can change it. So if we wanted to change the color on that, I've got to find this particular item. That helps a lot if you label things. Excellent. There it goes. Oh, there we go. Got to call this. Okay. So if I wanted to, I could, just make a selection, and then I can go into color correction. So I can go in there, and I can go to filter, or I could go to image adjustments and go to one of these, and I can change, like, let's say, hue and saturation. So give me the preview, and if I want, I can kind of make, that helmet look a little more red. I can change the color to like hot pink, or orange, or yellow. Oof, none of those are good. But anyways, you get the gist of it. So it allows you to play around with color on certain things. That's a possibility. You can also paint. So if you wanted to fill in an area like by painting on it, you could grab this and grab a paintbrush. So be careful you don't get the history paintbrush here, color replacement tool, mixed up with this one, or the history brush tool. We would just want to go ahead and grab the pure paintbrush. And, if I wanted to paint some black in there, you just, whatever color is in the foreground here, you can select that. And I could actually paint something on here as well, just to kind of fill in an area. So we'll see how that looks when we go through. And it's painting right over the top of the layer, so you want to be careful about that just to make sure it looks the way you want it to and everything. But, if you wanted to, you could fill in like some gaps and things like that this way by painting. And so, if you end up with a couple of things that you want to like combine together, let's say you want to merge the shoulder pads and the this bulletproof vest here, you can just click on both of those and click up here and go to merge layers, and that'll flatten those two things out into one layer. So now they're all together instead of separate. So you just want to clean this whole thing up, make it look really good. If you do something you don't want to, remember the history button up here, and you can just click on that, and that'll undo that thing I just did. I don't actually want to separate those for this. Yeah, and so you want to label it. You want to get it all prepared. You want to cut it up into pieces, name the layers, get this thing looking really just the way you want it to. Make sure all of your layers are sort of stacked in the right order. And then we're going to go ahead and bring this in and save it, of course. And then we're going to go ahead and bring this into After Effects to see how the program from here will take these different pieces and parts, and we can start moving them around and animating.